Hi, trade professionals. We are back with another news roundup, Simply Trade episode. Yay, sorry, I sound a little bit stuffed up. I just had surgery, but it's going to be better soon. Anyways, I am here with Lalo and Andy. Woo! I didn't forget them this time. Um, They'll be giving me all the tea on all the news, and I will be asking them all the questions if I have any. But, I have a few today. So let's get straight into it. So, um, do we have any licensed customs brokers? That's
Oh, there's a
a weird
lot
word
of
to say.
licensed,
Licensed
yeah, that
customs
are listening. Yes.
brokers.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, great. Because CBP unveils continuing education requirement. So on Friday, June 23rd, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP) released their final rule requiring continuing education for licensed individual customs brokers. Well, this is news and this is probably great. I mean, continuing education sounds always great to me. I think knowledge needs to be continued always, right? There's always new things we have to learn. So I want to hear from you guys. What is your stance on this? I know Lalo, this is a very good towards compliance and, global training center is usually here to help with continuing education requirements or credits. So I want to hear from you first and see what you have to say on how Global Training Center, what kind of role we play in it.
Well, fortunately, we've had a few years to prepare for this. It's just something that's been working on CBP's part, and it's finally been approved or passed. And it's actually not going to be official till July 23rd because it's 30 days after they publish the on the Federal Register. So, but either way, it's still not even going to be in effect until the next what they call the
Triennial.
triennial. Sorry about that. And that
Hey,
is
fair
20
about is fair play here. It's like turnabout is fair play here. It's
exactly.
usually I'm the one that would screw this stuff up. So okay, I love
No, exactly.
it.
And that one is and that one is for 24 I guess starting in 2024 through 2027. So every 3 years they have to report um even now, but now it's more official, I would say. The officially they need to report 36 hours of continuing education, so about averaging 12 hours a year.
Right. Which
And
is that they have replicated the same requirements as in the legal realm. So attorneys have the
right,
same thing for, to maintain their bar association licenses and
exactly.
accreditation and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So,
And that's really good. There's a lot of people out there that are quite for it. They've been lobbying for it and everything, including our friends over at NCBFAA. um, there's a process that you have to go through, um, not only as a broker but also as educators or trainers and associations, etc. So there's what they call an accreditor. An accreditor would be someone like NCBFAA, who us, like Global Training Center, we go through them to get our courses accredited through them so that they can determine how many points or continuing education credits someone's going to get for any one of our given classes. And again, because we've been working with them for so many years, I mean many years, um, we have already that relationship with them. And anyone that does need to get credit points, of course, just about any one of our classes, whether they're live, in person, virtual, or even recorded, like our e-learning classes, they tend to all earn you anywhere from one continuing education credit point all the way up to,
and the three.
I think we have one that we have that says like you can earn up to 12 points, as a
Wow.
matter of
That must
fact. I
be a
think
whole
we have one.
series of things then.
Yeah, it's a series. Ours is a whole series is of courses. So, but anyway, so that's a good news that's moving forward. It's pretty much formalizing everything that we've been doing anyway. It's just more formal. It's now a government
Mhm.
regulation, etc. So yeah.
Well, I will say that for our listeners, listen, again, this has been talked about for a long time. Customs has finally pulled the trigger on this. So it's like, okay, it's formalized. If you are a licensed broker, if you're not a licensed broker, you still ought to be looking at this. So here's the point. Your action on this, as you've heard it and looked at it, and it's like, okay, I need to do something. Stop a moment, look at that. You're looking at 12 credits. You need to be looking at literally planning in your schedule and plot it in that you need to be, laying out for the year what courses you need to take. Don't wait till the end of the year. Don't wait till the end of the triennial 36 month period and then go, oh, and then you're having to bust a gut to try and get all that in. It's not going to work. So
Right.
seriously, though, the objective here is to keep you sharp. Don't be the dullest tool in the shed. You want to be the sharpest tool in the shed. So with that, folks, plan that out. So this is a good thing, Anik, and it keeps people fresh and dust off the cobwebs and everything else, and keep us going. And hopefully, the objective is to
Yeah.
have more knowledgeable professionals in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think, well, that's why we have Global Training Center,
Yes.
first of all. But not only is it, I mean, people will just look at it as continuation credits, like really just credits, but it's not just credits. I mean, it's anywhere like that. You have to, with social media or, apps, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. There's new things every single day where we have to kind of figure it out and learn these kind of things. If you don't do it, then how will you ever, you're just going to go and losing all that kind of knowledge. So I guess it's the same thing um
Well, with
with the
regulations, yeah.
brokers and stuff. Attention all trade geeks. The G-Tech conference is coming to Oklahoma City and you won't want to miss it. Mark your calendars for July 30th through August 1st and join us for a jam-packed event with expert-less sessions and networking opportunities. And guess what? The Simply Trade podcast will be recording live at the event. Don't miss this unique chance to be featured on a show and share your insights with fellow trade professionals. We'll see you in Oklahoma City, where trade compliance takes center stage. Go to www.ncbfaa.org and become part of the action.
What else are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, great topic. I like it. Good update if you don't know yet. So now you know.
There you go.
The next one we have Janet Yellen heads to China seeking to ease tension between the two economic powers. So she heads there. We get this article that she heads there, and then now we get this updated article that says she came back, and the one thing that she has to say is she thinks that they're on surer, that's a hard word for me, surer footing. Like, how do you just come back with saying you're on sure footing? I think that to me means you really don't know and you didn't progress. But um let's see what it means to what does it mean to you guys? I mean, what do you guys think? Cuz like we talked about this and it's very on the surface, and all of the articles that go with China, like very on the surface. There's never anything that comes out of it. Like, why do we still try even? Okay, so let me hear what are you guys' opinions on this? Because we talk about China a
I,
lot. So like now what's the
well,
difference
forgive
now?
me for laughing, and Lalo and I are both are trying to look at this. This is just a lot of fluff again in the deal. Yes, um, Secretary Yellen is another major high level cabinet member that went to China. It's the second one in a relatively short period of time. And yet, there's really just nothing that's come out of this. And the one thing that I will say, the articles written before or just before she was en route were really putting it out there to lower the expectation on anything coming out. The expectation was, one, there is not expected to be any diplomatic breakthrough, and two, that trying to appease China to convince them that the fact that the U.S. is restricting the sale of advanced technology such as artificial intelligence chips and things of that nature. China is pretty upset about that. They want to get their hands on that, and U.S. is restricting sale of those items to China. And Janet Yellen is supposed to go over there and trying to, well, it's just in the matter of national security and things of that nature. But it's like, don't worry about it. We've got other things to talk about. Obviously, coming back out of there, there's zero results other than, hey, we're on sure footing. Well, that means, okay, gosh, I'm standing on a rock. Good. What else now? Well, you going to jump? Or you going to get pushed off? Or you would? I don't know. It's one of those things where, okay, there was a trip. They can say that people have gone over there. And other than that, I guess just sit back and watch. Now, saying that, I will extend another invitation to somebody that believes that this has been a great thing. Please come on our show and let's talk through this because you're gonna have to walk me through it. I'm dumb as a box of rocks. Maybe I'm just can't see it, and maybe you can enlighten me and our listeners. But for right now, okay, there's a lot of money spent on a cabinet member going to China to say we're on sure footing that a phone call probably could have accomplished the same thing.
I guess the only thing is, if anybody out there is thinking that they were going to see any resolution on any of the trade tariffs against China, they didn't talk about it. Again, there was no news on it, no update on it that did talk about it. But I really seriously think nothing's going to get done on it, especially because we're heading into an election year, and I really don't think Biden is going to want to change that in the middle of an election year. I mean, that could really kill him. That can really hurt him if he starts shifting focus on that. And in past weeks, we've had several weeks, in fact, that we've talked about how the trade roadmap per se for the Biden administration, it doesn't really address that anyway. It's more geared towards which they did talk about that. Actually, I did see that on an article. They did talk about the environment and labor. So, and actually labor, they even stayed away from that. I guess it's a touchy subject that they're not
Well,
really touching on. So
yeah, it's just I will say that with China, the issues that we have are the intellectual property rights (IPR), where things at some point are manufactured in China, and then it seems like all of a sudden, after a certain period of time, there are knockoffs of the same item that seem to be showing up in other parts of the world where somebody is taken and reverse engineering it or not respecting IPR, they're manufacturing the widget, and off it goes. The other is the scenario where we just still have the Uyghur forced labor situation, and what's happening is China is exporting their goods that are manufactured by forced labor, the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, and other, you know, population groups. But they're exporting that to other countries for as components or raw goods. Then like for example, a bolt of fabric, components for bicycles, or components, electronic components that then are sent to, let's say, Malaysia or Vietnam, and then those are added into, the manufacturing of another widget, if you will, that goes through what's called a substantial transformation. So, these components come together. Now, all of a sudden, now you have a finished bicycle, or you have a finished um, I don't know, electronic piece of equipment, or you have the fabric that is then turned into, a men's shirt or a women's blouse and things of that nature. And then those goods are, then tried to be sold and imported into the U.S. and other parts of the world. That's what's happening, though, is forced labor prevention acts that not only in the US, you have Canada, Mexico has got theirs. It seems to be a bit watered down, but it's there. Europe has some of that. That some of those goods are getting seized because it has components of forced labor results.
Um, just as a side note for everyone that's listening, look out for soon. We'll have a series specifically on forced labor. I mean, we're talking about a series. We're talking about three, four, maybe even 5 episodes that are just specifically on forced labor, and we're going to be covering those with different points of view. You know, like the government point of view, people who are service providers, technology, etc. So it's going to be a great series. So look out for that. And
All right, to our listeners, again, what Lila's bringing up, talking about forced labor, and we're talking about the series, is you hear a lot about forced labor as a small business person, as a employee working in a big corporation. You really need to get up to speed on how does the legislation and regulations of anti-forced labor uh, acts, how does it affect you? Where's the impact? You may not see it directly, so you're going to have to dig in there a little bit. So take a look, listen to the series, and maybe hopefully it'll give you that nugget of knowledge or the action steps you should take to try and dig into it and get yourself proficient. Okay, sorry about that, Anik.
I, well, I think it's a great forecast for the forced labor one. That's
hmm
great. I think that's such a hot topic. And 5 episodes, people can learn a lot.
well,
Those.
don't quote me on five. Up to five.
Oh, okay, up to 5.
We'll see how
Oh,
it
well,
goes.
even if it's just 3
Yeah,
or 2, whatever, it's
yeah.
still, I mean, it's still great because people pay money for this to get
Right.
informed. Um, so, and we just do this for fun, but there are some great people on here that have some great knowledge that are not just talking for fun. They talk some serious business. So, we're looking forward to that. But next, we're going to a political article, and this one has a lot of details about a lot of stuff. But I'm gonna go with the USMCA
Okay.
um, part, which we are at 3 years, is what we just talked about, of USMCA. And there's been difficulties, there's been successes, and it's funny because the way they described it says, having dispensed with China and the EU, we can now focus on the best US trade relationship of all with North America. And then they put in parentheses, just kidding. Morning trade loves
hmm
all trade negotiations and disputes equally. I mean, how could you choose? That's kind of funny. Thought that was funny. So yeah, I kind of want to go into it. Like, is it the best U.S. trade relationship of all time? What do we think?
Well, there's
Um,
a difference, Anik.
there's card.
There's a difference. Let's.
What?
You're asking a good question in some of the way they're going. There's a difference of trade relations versus a trade agreement. There has been a trade agreement that has been renegotiated. It's NAFTA 2.0, USMCA, it's the US, Mexico, Canada trade agreement. In that agreement has been in there. What's at a bone of contention, all three countries came together and basically wound up, I mean, obviously under the Trump administration, renegotiated and came up with a new trade agreement. All right. That said, where's the bone of contention right now that Katherine Tai, who is the chief trade negotiator, is meeting with both the Mexico and Canadian counterparts, that the U.S., the interpretation of some of the rules, and more specifically in the automotive industry, and what accounts for the percentage of content that comes from North America, is what's at issue. I don't know the specific details other than that, but the U.S. has taken a very strong stance, and the Biden administration is adhering to it, as to the interpretation. and Canada and Mexico are wanting a bit more liberal, um, and I don't mean liberal from a political standpoint. They're wanting a bit more liberal interpretation of the rules. What's at stake? It's the percent of content manufactured raw goods of products manufacturing in North America that go into an automobile, so that that finished automobile, when manufactured, will be able to obtain the USMCA privileges, like duty free and all those kinds of things. So that's what's at issue, and they're talking about that.
Yeah, that was so the news was that she was going to travel to Mexico for that meeting, and of course that's happened since then. It was July
It's like last Thursday and
6th and
Friday for
7th.
us. Yes.
Yeah, Thursday and Friday. Yeah, July 6th and 7th. And the strange thing is that I cannot find absolutely any updates on that. I mean, it's
Meaning the
Probably nothing
Well,
came
or
out of it.
meaning the results of that. And again, the article, just like the Janet Yellen situation, the articles ahead of this was that yes, they're going to discuss this, and they're meeting and going to. First off, let me say it is a good thing for the secretary to go over to
right,
China and talk, and the thing to talk, the other issue to talk with Canada and Mexico officials, with U.S. folks. Even if you have the most adamant disagreement, you've got to be able to sit down and talk. You may agree to disagree, but you got to talk for you to even have a chance on things. The issue here, again, though, is there doesn't seem to be a strategy in this to say, other than the U.S. is just going to say, you know what, we're just going to adhere to the interpretation. The results of that is Canada and Mexico have refrained from administering retaliatory um, trade interpretations and regulations and things of that nature. I don't think it'll be in an automotive. I think what Canada and Mexico may do due to this is come back with more restrictive rules on other commodities. So, folks, in this sense here, we should be, a tighter trade relations. But if we can't seem to work through an issue, then it causes friction. There's always going to be issues. It's not a case of like, well, hey, I don't agree with you. Okay, but you can come up with some kind of compromise and work through it. To Lalo's point, here are these meetings they go through, and there's you got to imagine the entourage of these people having and preparing and all that to sit down and talk with each other. And now they come back away and it's like, you know what? Crickets. There's no results. There's nothing. It's like, hey, we have been able to agree to come up with this or that or whatever the case may be. And so it's unfortunate, but we just have to sit back and wait and see if something comes out of that.
exactly.
What bothers me out of that, and the point of no results, in the end, I believe the scenario will be that the average citizens of all the countries will be higher costs for imported goods at times. Now, that said, I'll also say that as we're going through this, there has been, believe it or not, on both sides of the aisle and everything else, that the USMCA has really helped benefit the workers in Mexico in particular and in
Right.
the automotive industry, because it was like, instead of these basement low wages, there's a minimum wage in that had to be adhered to, that's a decent wage. So the point being is that in that, and there's reports on that now and coming through, that yeah, the average worker in Mexico, it's really helped on a lot of fronts, because people have gone into the automotive industry, gotten a good wage, and then it has created a vacuum where for other companies to get workers, they've had to pay more, so that it's not just the frontline worker getting screwed over. So it is a positive for USMCA in that realm.
I feel like China is always an ongoing topic. Also, I think right now we're not talking about China. Whoopsie. Um, I think
Mexico.
anything in the news is an ongoing topic. I think they just prolong things for some type of reason because nothing comes out of it, and then they wait till something does come out of it, and then the news will update us with it, but that takes like weeks. Um, so maybe next week, or maybe in the couple of next weeks, we can get some information, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean,
Well, the next one,
okay. So when did you say USMCA was 3 years?
yes,
It's July 1st.
Yes.
yes, and it's the third anniversary of it and whatnot. So there's been, you know, again, there's been some strong positives on that one, but we'll have to wait and see on this one.
Well, we probably not won't get those right now. But um, the most interesting article to me today, which we got the most out of, I think, was the education credits. I think
That,
That one was very
that's
clear.
that's clear, and that
yeah,
was
that
easy.
one
Yeah,
was super
yeah.
clear. And it was written by lawyers, so I don't think lawyers cannot not be clear.
Oh well,
Um
I don't know about
It
that.
depends.
I've got
Yeah,
some
I was
great
gonna say
attorney
it
friends
depends.
that I would bust out on that. On the same token, you know what? They're
uh,
great folks. So.
I've been also watching a good show ever since I've been down in the bed. I've been watching The Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer.
So
Yeah.
good. If anyone watches it, so good. And the
So,
second season just came out. I'm all the way
second
caught
season.
up. So good. Have you watched?
I haven't seen the second season. We were gonna
Yeah.
start it today, in
It's
fact.
only it has 5 episodes right now, and
Right.
the next 5 come out, like, tomorrow or something. But anyways,
Yeah.
great show. Okay, well, I do have a fun
Oh,
fact.
looking for here's our shiny new penny.
Yeah, and it's about beer.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Uh-oh.
guys know? Well, okay, well, I'm not gonna foreshadow anything right now. Do you guys know who imports or wait, did I put exports? No, exports the most beer?
Exports the most beer.
No.
Mexico, because
You
Modelo is
really
now
think
the
people wanna drink American beer?
Oh well, that's
No.
Modelo.
oh there yeah, like,
Mexico.
we just got slapped.
Yeah, it's Mexico. It's
Yeah.
The
Mexico.
Coronos, the
Yeah.
Modelos, yep,
Yeah.
and all that. Well,
And it's not even Germany. And it's Mexico, Netherlands, Belgium, and then it's Germany.
wow, and you know what? I gotta say, traveling around the world, there's some good beer in the Netherlands and some good beer in Belgium as well. So, and I do enjoy my
Yeah, no,
Mexican
there is.
beers. So, anyway,
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
a that.
They're all good. Anyway, so that was my fun fact. Again, we had some great articles, some great articles that need some clearing up. To all the news people out there, please clear those up for us so we can talk about them more clearly. um, Other than that, thank you, Lalo. Thank you, Andy, for all your knowledge that you bring to us. Looking forward to the forced labor episodes coming soon. To all the supporters, thank you. Follow us everywhere. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, and if you want to come on or challenge anything Lalo and Andy are saying, please come on. I'm always here to
Mhm.
watch some fighting happen. Just kidding. But maybe we have some controversy here.
Hey, Anik, I
But
will say though, on
huh,
behalf of Lalo and myself and the Global Training Center team, as well as I know several listeners, we hope you have a very quick recovery and things go really smoothly, my dear.
I
Yeah.
know, thank you. I hope so too. It will. But that's why I sound not so great and I might not be as funny. But but you know, next time,
Fixing.
next episode will be
All
much
right.
better. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next week, and I'll see you guys next week
All right.
also. Bye, Lalo and Andy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Annie.
Bye, listeners.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.